And moving on now to our other discussion of the evening, another PMC depositor died from a heart attack. 74-year-old Andrew Lobo, who was ill for the last 2 months, died of a heart attack. What's glaring about this is that he could have been saved. Andrew had savings of 60 lakh and was not able to withdraw the amount from the bank. His family blames the bank for the death, and Andrew's lungs actually required an emergency operation at the earliest. The family even tried to approach the bank several times to withdraw this sum of 8 lakh rupees for the medical expenses of Andrew for the past 1 month. But all of this in vain. This is the 7th such death to take place in the PMC Bank scam. It's not even been a month. Let me quickly introduce my guests this evening. I have Harsh Rungta, Certified Financial Planner, Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, Harpreet Singh, PMC depositor, and Swapnil Kothari, still with us, of a senior, still with us, senior lawyer. I'm going to quickly now first just bring in the PMC depositor, of course, who's joining us now. Sir, have you attempted to withdraw any kind of emergency funds, any kind of expenses from the PMC Bank? Has it been particularly difficult?
Yeah, of course, it is extremely difficult though. But I've not done it myself, but I've seen people really crying in the bank and requesting them for an emergency fund, which they were not given, you know. So, you know, I would request, you know, what is going on? Like, you have to help them out, you know. They are into critical condition right now and things are going really bad, yeah.
Harsh Rungta, from whatever we're hearing from the depositors that we've been speaking to over the last 1 month, it appears that, of course, you know, we've seen elderly citizens pass away from heart attacks, from strokes, because they've been so unwell and they've been so stressed out. And this has obviously only added to their concern and really, you know, been the trigger of sorts. But in 2 cases, specifically this one and an earlier case, actually, we saw that these patients could actually have been saved. They were not able to withdraw the funds on time, which is also perhaps something that the RBI and the PMC Bank authorities need to look at more carefully. And what is the way around this? Because it can't be this sarkari fashion where people are going in there waiting forever for their own money, for their own emergencies. You know, it can't go on like this.
I completely agree. I think treating this like any other cooperative bank failure, you know, I think is not right. I mean, there are 16 lakh PMC depositors, and you know, if you multiply that by 4, I mean, you're talking of 64 lakh people affected by this. There are bound to be more such tragedies, and the only reaction we see is that, which is the standard response, you know, round up the usual suspects, that assets have been attached, they will be sold, and your money is safe. When will we give it back to you? There is absolutely no comment on the period. What is the point in my money being safe if I am going to get it after 10 years? If the depositors are not paid back their own money at a time when they need it, people's faith in the banking system, and you now are talking of 75-80 lakh people actually affected, plus another set of, a multiple of that watching this happen. And you imagine, if you're doing this because PMC was a cooperative bank, then there are so many other cooperative banks. Should those depositors be worried as well? Will they suffer the same fate? Are they only going to be dependent on assets being sold? If the asset sale is so easy, why doesn't the government upfront the money and then recover it back from the asset sale?
Right.
We have seen plenty of examples in the past where the cooperative banks have just become shells. I don't think the regulator has any idea on how to turn around a cooperative bank.
And procedurally also, Swapnil Kothari, procedurally as well, this asset valuation and selling that, it's going to take a fair amount of time. Let's also remember there are still no takers for Vijay Mallya's property. So I don't think the PMC depositors can really depend on this option.
Sanjana, yes, Sanjana, you're absolutely right there. First of all, my hearty congratulations to you and to Mirror Now for relentlessly pursuing this issue day after day. But for this media pressure, I don't think that the deposit limit would have been increased. Rather, the withdrawal limit would have been increased, and maybe, this issue would have made the media headlines as much. Just as you all pursued the Mahol crisis, the LGBTQ rights, and now the PMC thing, this is something which really, really merits media attention, and I'm glad that Mirror Now is taking on a daily basis. Now, as far as the procedure is concerned, it's a long, drawn-out procedure and as painful as an extraction of a tooth. So, this is going to take a long, long time, and it's not that easy as the RBI makes it sound, or, the people who talk on behalf of the banks make it sound it. I think what the RBI needs to do is put its hand a little bit in its own huge coffers, pull out that some little bit of money, like 3,000 crores or something, and give it to the PMC Bank so that the PMC Bank can refund all the depositors, and then maybe, as Harsh Runta pointed out, recover from the sale of the assets. Otherwise, we are going to see weekly deaths, one after the other. And of course, the RBI is going to come and say that Mr. Lobo was a 74-year-old man. He would be suffering from some heart ailment, and I don't think that we are responsible for this at all.
Before I quickly bring in a word from China, Swapnil, I'm trying to understand what kind of role can the state government play in a situation like this?
The state government can only push the RBI to do its job in terms of refunding money to the bank. Other than that, I don't think the state government can do anything unless it pulls out its own money from its own coffers and deals out to the but it has to go via bank. It can't just say that, okay, all the depositors come to us and we'll give it to you from our state exchequer, like it's going to help out farmers, because that comes under the state list. But this is something which will more importantly be dealt through with banks, and I think it's the RBI. Who is going to deal with this? The RBI. The Reserve Bank of India is the one who pulls up banks for malfeasance, misfeasance, etc. And obviously, it has got to ensure that the depositors are not left out in the lurch. And this is unfortunately, I could go into a litany of the entire procedure under the Corporate Insolvency Code, etc., and all that, but I don't want to waste time here, because that is all legal rigmarole and legal gobbledygook. So this is something which I don't want to waste time, because I am, as a person, as a layman, I can understand the citizen situation, and I would want that the RBI takes a proactive approach. It took a very proactive approach, and it overnight took the PMC Bank to task. Great job done under the 1934 Act. But now what? It's been, I don't know how many days, 30 days, 50 days, I don't know. And you are seeing 7 deaths. Now, how many more deaths are we going to see before this is something which is taken to task? I mean, you need to refund these depositors. The Diwali is gone. Now even the Christmas is going to be spoiled. What nonsense is this? I really feel that, and as I suggested earlier on the channel, what these depositors need to do, they need to go to the Bombay High Court, try to get the circular quashed, say that is called as asking for the moon, because the court is not going to quash that circular, because that circular was taken in the interest of the depositors, as it will be advocated by the RBI. But then, as a corollary to that, say that, okay, fine, you're not quashing the circulars, but at least, I've got a wedding at home, I've got Christmas coming up, so please refund me some of my money, and work out a package under the supervision of the High Court. That's the only way out for the PMC depositors. Otherwise, I don't see any route ahead, because RBI is probably comatose at the moment.
Right, Swapnil, let me also bring in Shaina and see. Shaina, this is something that we actually take up on a daily basis, and unfortunately now we're discussing it is the 7th such death that has taken place. And once again, what is really glaring about this is that this man could have been saved. He went from pillar to post running, trying to get funds out of this. His family, their money was stuck in the bank as well, since they were all PMC depositors. I do believe it's time for the state government to actually live up to their their responsibility and all the promises they made pre-election. I think I asked you this question almost every evening, but we're hearing nothing from the state government.
Sanjana, I completely agree with you. I think it's time for not just the state government who has been trying to intervene, but for RBI's appointed so-called person who's intervening and looking into the entire issue to come up with a conclusive solution. Now, is this a cooperative bank movement directly under the state government? No. Is it under the finance ministry? No. It is for the RBI to come up with a conclusive suggestion. And I do agree with what Swapnil said, that we need not necessarily wait for liquidation of the assets that the EOW have frozen. There can be another parallel measure, whether it's the RBI giving temporary relief until the assets sell, and that the monies are then reimbursed to either RBI or the victims, as the case be. But if we have lost 7 lives in 42 days, it is a big, big issue. I do recall when the depositors, one of whom is on your panel, came to meet Nirmala Sitharamanji at our party office and was assured that yes, the RBI would be held accountable and would be replying on behalf of the issues raised by the victims. I can only say there is no question when it comes to our intent. Yes, the process is quite exasperating if you have 7 lives lost in 42 days. But the assurance from the government is clearly that the victims will get back their money. When is the question, whether it's after the liquidation of the assets or whether it is the RBI that gives temporary relief. And I do concede that there is an onus on agencies who have faltered, and the auditors who need to be booked to need to set a very corrective measure in the days to come as an example to all the wrongdoers.
Okay, okay. Harpreet Singh, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I would only ask you one thing. It's 42 days and not the center is not even given one reply as to what is happening with the depositors. I mean, it's really too much, what is really going on. Are we waiting for more deaths to come in, or what are we doing, Anything happens in the country, I mean, it is the duty of the senior officials to come down, step down, do something for the local citizens, I mean, nothing is happening at all. I mean, and nobody is responding. Sometimes they are busy with their elections, and sometimes they are busy with the chair of the CM coming up. Or, I mean, is that important of what is happening? And people are really dying, and nobody is taking care of that. I mean, how do we where do we go? We've been going 42 days either to the EOW or we are going to the RBI. Is that our duty to do that? I mean, standing on the roads, we are protesting. And there's nobody, there's no citizen who is like, and you guys are not responsible for it. Please request me, because this is a request from all of you guys sitting down on a position, and you have to come out with some solution immediately. You cannot wait for liquidations or all these things to happen. Like, I mean, we went to RBI, and RBI is telling us that why don't you go forward and talk to the banks to come for a merger? Come on, is it our duty to do that, or is it the RBI's duty to announce it that the mergers are open, please come out with a solution or something like that,
Right.
I mean, this is really crazy. I mean, we are really tired, It's like we are left all over work and we are standing and doing nothing, every day. Like, do we have a protest again tomorrow outside the RBI? Are we supposed to do that or every day and, just disturb our routine life? Shanaji, you have to, say something about this. You are a position, you are a spokesperson. You have to go forward, talk to the officials. We can't even reach them. People try to reach the CM, they were arrested. We want to meet the PM, he's never available for us. I mean, we respect his position, his non-availability, but the thing is, something has to come out from the center also. People are dying. Yeah, there is, I mean, if this would have been anywhere placed in abroad, I mean, this entire thing would have been a different scenario altogether, I mean, please have a heart to, see what is happening, and are we waiting for more calamities to happen?
Harpreet Singh, I can understand what you're going through, and your point is very, very correctly and pertinently made, especially since, Shaina, I do actually want to point this out, that the BJP, the Shiv Sena, the Congress, everybody made this a poll issue, but come the elections, come Diwali, nothing. We haven't heard anything from the state governments. We haven't heard anything from the center. Swapnil, you want to come in really quickly. Go ahead.
Yeah, very quickly, Sanjana, I have only one suggestion for Shaina. Shaina, I'm a little surprised. Maybe can't you guys, tell the RBI at least to come on TV? I'm sure Mirror Now must have tried to catch an RBI spokesperson or somebody to come on TV and at least be responsible. It's a state body. At the end of the day, it's responsible, it's accountable, it's answerable to the people, to the audience. I'm sure Mirror Now must have tried it several times. They must have sent their camera person with the, mic person as well to ask questions. And I'm sure they must have been shooed away or something like that, because RBI RBI seems to sit in the ivory tower, from what I know, and it cannot behave like an ivory tower cloistered philosopher. I think it needs to come out of it and really address the issues. Shaina, maybe you can suggest, given the position that you guys are in, I think you can easily influence the RBI to at least come on TV and answer so that at least people can get a first-hand information from, the horse's mouth.
China, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I want to tell Swapnil and I want to tell Harpreet ji because he does know that the first time when the people met with Nirmala Sitharaman ji at our office, she clearly explained that cooperative bank movement does not come under the finance ministry. It is for the RBI to intervene, and the RBI can only be told that yes, these are the options. Immediately, the FIR that was filed by Kirit Somaya, we made sure that the guilty perpetrators are sitting behind bars. All their assets have been frozen, and we know that the process is either the assets are liquidated or there's an amalgamation of banks. We even, the finance minister even said that the RBI is the regulator of cooperative banks, and the amendments that need to be made in parliament vis-a-vis the cooperative bank movement will happen, but that cannot be in retrospective. It has to be for the days to come. I only want to assure that our government is not going to leave the citizens high and dry. We will come to a logical conclusion. Please have the patience. And I would only appeal at this juncture with deepest condolences to the 7 families that I can understand 42 days is a long, long time. And we hope that in the next few weeks, we will be able to come up with a conclusive solution, whether it's amalgamation of banks or temporary relief given by RBI in view of the assets which have been frozen or the liquidation of assets. This can be the only 3 options in the current scenario.
Okay, Shaina, NC, Harsh, Rungtha, Swapnil and Harpreet, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm afraid we've completely run out of time. The 7th death in a month, and once again, this elderly gentleman could have been saved. His family ran from pillar to post but received no help from the bank. Is it time for now the RBI to truly look into how they can help the depositors? And is it also perhaps time for the state government to fulfill its promise before the elections that it has conveniently forgotten? But we haven't. Thank you so much for watching.